And we are live. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I am here with our esteemed guest, Coach Kareem. Coach Kareem, how are you, Akhi?
Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah. I'm doing good. How's things
Good.
back there in UK?
Good, alhamdulillah, Akhi. Can't complain. For those of you wondering where AbuAmerican is, AbuAmerican will be here with us shortly, inshallah ta'ala. He's literally just rushing back from work and he'll be jumping on as soon as he can. So he will be here with us. Coach Kareem, we were just talking about backstage at an event
Mm.
that you just spoke at over the weekend, I believe it was in Jordan. Was it over the
It
weekend?
was like 4 days ago,
Mm,
or 4 or 5 days ago.
right. Yeah,
Yeah,
tell us about
it was. It was like the main, like the title of the whole conference was "تمكين الأسرة في السنة النبوية," which
that.
is family empowerment in Sunnah.
Mm,
And it was supported by ministry, which is Wazarat al-Awqaf. This is like this ministry is in charge of masajid and like the organizations about Quran and other stuff. It's religious, like Islamic ministry.
mm,
So it was supporting it, and the other party the university. It's well
mm,
known in Amman, in the capital, and we invited like some people around the Arabic world. I personally invited Dr. Hamid Al-Idrisi, which is a very famous figure, like fighting feminism and supporting the stability of the Islamic family, and that was great. Like as a, let's say, local movement against feminism, CEDAW, and the rest of this crap.
mm.
So that was a big move. Like it was really huge, and it was
Fantastic.
full of like very shiny names from on a political level, such as some of the like high level employees of many ministries, like politicians and other like Islamic, let's say, conservative parties.
Mm.
So that was
I have a
big.
question. I have a question. If something like that happened in the UK and you were, or in the West in general, and you were an employee of one of these major companies and you attended this conference, you'd probably lose your job, right? Because you're speaking against, well, feminism is very powerful now. How
Mm.
how do things play out like that in the Arab world, particularly in Jordan where you are?
Well, yeah, it depends on which country that you're talking about. Here we have like a high limit of freedom. So even if the government was supporting feminism and we stand up and say, no, that's bullshit,
Mm,
we're allowed to say this. So,
mm,
and people is like, they can contradict or disapprove for the government narrative like very freely without
mm,
fearing of any consequences. You got me? So we
mm.
don't have like real cancel culture here
Ah,
in Arab world, because the vast majority of the population is conservative and Islamic.
mm,
So the majority of people will support you when you speak against feminism. So there's no nothing, uh, there's no such things as cancel culture. Like you're not allowed to say that. Oh no, I will say it. You know.
good, good, excellent, mashallah. And what did your speech entail exactly?
Well, it was 2 days conference, and they have like a lot of speeches for significant like individuals around the Arabic world, and very effective like advocates against feminism here in Jordan. I found out like people reached me through my website,
Mm,
and they asked me to support them, because there is an Islamic center, Islamic teaching center. It's called Shamat here in Amman. They reached me out through my website. They need me to support them with that like big course to prepare 100 person, which is well knowledge about feminism agenda, and to support like the Islamic family stabilization. So they need me as a coach, like to give some courses, like to spread some knowledge about
amazing.
female nature, like male nature, And I prepared like a big course, actually, like very valuable one. It's called وليس الذكر كالأنثى.
Mm,
Like this quote is from Quran, وليس الذكر
beautiful.
كالأنثى, and I will explain it. I will break down the basic
Can you
biological.
translate that ayah, please, for the audience? Can you translate it?
Yeah, وليس الذكر كالأنثى. It means literally the male and female is not alike, is not similar. So, and here it is from Quran, and basically in this course it will be in 1 or 2 weeks. I'll give it to men and women. It will have four main topic, which is the biological differences, the neurological differences and brain differences, the intellectual capabilities, and the personality differences.
Talk to me about the intellectual capabilities, because now we have technology. Now we have advanced to a point where we can actually prove some of these things. You know,
Oh yeah.
talk to me about the intellectual capabilities. And we have the game master. The game master is here. Shout out to the game master, of course. Come on, AbuAmerican. Salam
Alaikum
alaikum wa
assalam.
rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alhamdulillah, I'm good. I'm good. It's been a long day, but I'm good.
Alhamdulillah. Jazakallah khair for joining us, akhi AbuAmerican. I know you're busy. Allahumma barik. Jazakallah khair.
Yeah. But alhamdulillah, I'm here. Can't miss the homies, you know.
Alhamdulillah. Jazakallah khair. Sorry, Coach Kareem, you were saying, akhi.
Yeah.
The intellectual capabilities.
Intellectual capabilities is the first question always people ask me, and they ask me that in the conference, and in the like. There's some courses behind the conference. Who's more smart, man or woman? And they want a very direct answer. I said, no, this is wrong question. You have to ask what is the difference between the male intelligence and female intelligence, not who's smart, who's more smart. Because like who's more smart, that sounds like 30s and 40s and 50s. It doesn't sound like 2021.
And it sounds like they're trying to trap you to me. It sounds like they're trying to trap you with that question as well.
Yeah, of course. They want me to say, yeah, they want me to say like men are more smart. No, you hate women. No, it is not. It is not.
There is an answer though.
They have different intelligence, like because we have the multi-intelligence theory. Go ahead, AbuAmerican. Yeah.
Well, I mentioned it before. There's a book called Bell Curve, and basically he specialized himself in intelligence. And so what he showed is, on average, women are more intelligent than men on average. Wow. So he basically there's a curve and a wave that intelligence rides on. So what happens is the largest amount of morons is populated by men, but then also the highest population of geniuses are men. Yeah. Women make up the middle ground in terms of average intelligence. So men have more geniuses and men have more idiots. So if you want to ask, who's most likely to be a super genius, it's going to be a man.
Wow.
But also who's going to be the most, the most biggest idiot is probably going to be a man also.
Why is that? So basically men waver on the extremes. Why is that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I didn't actually read that deep into the study as to why. I'm not sure if that question's ever been answered. But I mean, one thing that we can definitely say in terms of geniuses is sexual dimorphism. Now, if you don't know what sexual dimorphism is, that's basically the differences between the males and the females of a species. And in the male and in the human species, sexual dimorphism favors men. So we are on average 30% larger. So that means bigger, stronger, faster, denser muscles and bones, and brain size. And as we know, the brain is computational powerhouse of the human. So if you have a 30% larger brain, it just makes sense that if you're actually using a capacity and you haven't had if you're a healthy human, you're probably going to be smarter than someone who has 30% less brain matter than someone else. It's not to say that women are stupid. Obviously, like Coach Kareem said, that would be incorrect. But if you got a bigger brain, you got a bigger brain.
Yeah. I can explain this. Do you see it, guys, or you don't?
Yeah, we can see it. Yeah.
Okay. You can understand, like on the IQ standard, you can understand male and female here. Like that's the right way to understand it. If you can see, like the blue line here, it is the female intelligence. Like the middle, the average for male and female is the same. but the distribution, like the curveness of the distribution is different. So if you look at the score here on the right side, over than 130, you will find it's a majority of men. And if you look at the other side, which is less than 70, that's the most like less capable human individual, you will find that it is most of them are men. But
Amazing.
in the middle, the vast majority between the two lines, which is female. So that's how you will understand it. If you look at the vast majority of geniuses in the human history, they're all male. The vast majority of stupid people in the human history, and they are all male. And
Wow.
that's bringing me to another thing,
Mm.
really, which is which is like more interesting thing. When we talk about polygyny, and everybody look at it from egalitarian point of view, no, those men will have all women, and like the rest of men will know. Polygyny does not function this way. If you find like the most intellectual guys, it is all men. So 80-20 rule, 80-20 rule, of course, will apply here, because the most capable human being is all vast majority of them are men. Those will have what they want, and on the other end, the most stupid, like below 80 or below 70 IQ, will never have any. And DNA analysis, like through human history, find out that only 45% of men reproduced. So what about
Wow.
the rest of them? They did nothing. So it will
Wow.
You
never
know,
function in egalitarian like terms in human history.
I had this conversation with the brother, and I like the brother, so I'm not crapping on him. But he said, AbuAmerican don't marry any more women. It's making it harder for us to get them. And I believe he was serious when he said that. I don't think he was joking. And I was like, it doesn't work like that. And I said, because the simple fact of the matter is, just because I don't marry her doesn't mean she's going to want you.
My wife made this exact point the other day because she read one of the comments. It said the same thing, and she said to me, she mentioned, oh, one of the comments was, oh, AbuAmerican's out here marrying all these women. If he keeps marrying everyone, then that means another brother's gonna go without. And even she made the deduction. But these women they are from their own free will wanting to sign up with him. Just because, okay, let's say AbuAmerican, mashallah, brothers, please take her. Doesn't mean that she's gonna want to go. The sister wants to get with who she wants to get with. It is
I was
what it
talking to a
is.
Turkish. Yeah, I was talking to a Turkish sister yesterday, and I was advising her to get married because we had spoken about marriage at first. And she's like, all the men I want are married, or they're just not to be found. I said, well, there's a lot of brothers out there that can take good care of you, to make good husbands. She says, I don't want those guys. She said, I would rather be miserable and unmarried than be married to those guys. She said it
Go
herself.
ahead.
I said, well, then be
Buy a
miserable.
dog.
I said, but you're going to
Buy a
be
dog.
happy and married as a co-wife. I said, so just go ahead and be a co-wife. It's either be miserably married, miserably alone, or with the guy you want, but you're sharing. I said, so how is that not an option?
Yeah, the pets industry will be increased in the next few years.
Start buying.
We should
pet
invest
stocks.
in that, guys. We should
Start buying
invest
pet stocks.
in cat and dog like food and accessories.
There you go.
So the title of today's live, gentlemen, is actually I realized that I think I might have opened a pretty deep topic here without realizing it. Yesterday, I reacted to a video of a sister. She did a TikTok video on TikTok, and she was simply reading out a message that was sent to her. And the crux of the short of it is this: there was a sister. She had a brother whom she was intimate with in Jahiliyyah. Okay, she had a boyfriend, for want of a better word. She then repented, left that lifestyle, although to be fair, he actually dumped her. So then she moved on. And then she found a husband. Coach Kerry is laughing. She found a
Of
husband.
course,
And
that's tawbah after like being frustrated.
she found another man and decided to marry him. They got married, okay, But unfortunately, and her exact wording was the sister kept saying, "Daran, daran." The intimacy was not to the same standard that she was used to from her haram lover. But it gets better, brothers. It gets better. Now, according to the sister, he was a 3-minute man, and he would desire her very infrequently, once every month or once every 3 months. Like, it really sounded, the situation sounded dire, to be honest with you. And then she got pregnant. She had a child. She got pregnant again. She had another child. And all this time, she was sexually dissatisfied. She approached the family and tried to explain to her that, you know, she's not being satisfied. And the family reproached her, shamed her, and said to her, how can you not be satisfied if you have 2 children? Which is an absolutely ridiculous argument. You can go to the IVF center and not enjoy anything and still get pregnant. Just because you're pregnant and got a child doesn't mean jack diddly, you know?
Yeah.
Anyway, after all of that, she finally got back into contact with her ex-boyfriend, stepped out on her husband while she was married, went abroad, and then, quoting what she said, I'm quoting her, she said, "I had the best intimacy of my life. Now I've come back home to my husband and I can't stand him. What should I do?" So this was the situation, okay? My thing here that I really want to go talk about today, AbuAmerican and Coach Kareem, is I think that in many cultures and societies, for that matter, not just Muslims, that we underplay how women's needs, women's desires, because for a man, he's going to reach climax pretty much every single time. But for a woman, there are no guarantees that she's going to reach climax. You see,
It's more complex, yeah.
right? It's more complex, you know. And just to speak frankly, I need some women, less than 30% of women are able to reach climax through vaginal penetration alone. The vast majority of women, of 70% of women, need some type of clitoral stimulation. And, you know, I apologize for this type of wording, but we have to talk about it. Meaning what? You're going to have to learn a few skills as a man in order to help your woman reach climax. What do we do about this, considering that this is a topic that is pretty taboo in most cultures and societies? Yani, how does a parent go about raising this with his child even? Where do we even start? How about that?
Mr. Anderson, cause and effect. It's causality.
It truly
Cause
is.
and effect. She was playing around. She's been alpha widowed. She will never
I
get
agree.
satisfied in regular marriage.
I
She
agree.
have to pay her bills.
I agree
Yeah.
in that
I
respect.
agree. Yeah. That's her fault. You know, being sexually active outside of marriage and then getting into marriage, it leaves a chain of comparison to previous lovers. If she was a virgin, she would have no comparison whatsoever. You know, she might imagine something, you know, how it could be or whatever else, but she'd have no practical experience on how the sexual experience
reference.
is. And therefore, she would most likely be more satisfied. Now, obviously, she can still not climax, but she wouldn't have a comparative example, you know? But I talk about this a lot. Well, not anymore, but I used to talk about it on my channel and on my Twitter a lot, that this is part of this problem. And I mention it a lot. You guys know I say the term the apotheosis of sisters, and brothers make the apotheosis of sisters. They act like they're these beings that don't have sexual desires. I'm gonna lower my voice. I'm in a hotel, guys. I'm moving to Berlin, so I should lower my voice. They act like sisters don't have sexual desires, and they act like the men are like some sort of, like, you know, lechy type of guy for, you know, kind of type. This is how they behave if you show or express that you have desire towards your wife. And it's completely, and I'll say this, and, you know, nobody should take this the wrong way. And, you know, we're not ashamed to speak about, you know, the truth, but the reality is this. And I don't mean this as an insult. I don't mean this as a pejorative. I don't mean this as an insult or anything like that. Women are, I call them sexual savages. They are really raw. I mean, and most men aren't really prepared for the level of desires that women have. They are very good at hiding it. But when she feels free, when she feels safe to express herself and not be judged with you as your husband, bro, most men are not ready for it. And that scares a lot of guys when they actually experience that from their wife. And this is why I keep telling guys, don't be the apotheosis of your wife. Let her feel comfortable, because her excitement is psychological. And if she's clemmed up here, she's going to be clemmed up in her entire body. So you need to let that wildness out. And, you know, that's what a lot of brothers, you know, when they walk around, and I'm not saying that don't be religious, But if you're going to act like hyper religious and judgmental, make sure it's not with your wife. If it's not in a matter that's not haram, so that she has that freedom and that ability to let herself go and just be relaxed and free with you, so that her body can be relaxed and free.
That's heavy, man. That's heavy. Coach Kareem, anything you want to add to that, Akhi?
Yeah, of course. Well, they have to understand from the beginning that sexual reference is disadvantage for women. So if you're getting experience in zina, haram, like with man or several men, then you have a sexual reference point that you will keep comparing to your husband in halal, and that will happen inevitably. Don't tell me no, I will forget about that's bullshit. No, I don't buy this at all. She will compare her sexual like partners before marriage to her sexual partner in halal, which is her husband. And like the man desires and power is a spectrum. We are not all the same. Some of men are more powerful, some of men have more desire, have better technique, some of them do not. So that's why, like, that's the main reason, that's the hikmah. God ordered us to not have a promiscuity before marriage, to not be promiscuous. So you can be satisfied for less, and you will be really happy when you have no reference. If you did, you need a treatment. I have one of the cases, guy, like a guy was contacting me from East Europe, to not be like more specified, and he told me that he's having problem with his wife, and I told him like there is several reasons for that. She might have psychological blockage because his wife was convert, like she was not Muslim since beginning, since she got born. She converted to Islam. I told her that might be psychological blockage, that might be sexual function disorder, or that might be like her sensitivity is on the down curve. So if she has psychological blockage or sexual functionality disorder, that can be physical and or can be psychological. So in both, like for the both reasons, she have to get treatment. She have to get treatment. You have to reach out like a doctor or a psychotherapist or both. Sometimes you need both. So you need to get to profession.
I have a question for you. I have a question for both of you, actually. What if the sister never committed zina, but she's been married before? Maybe once, maybe twice, maybe 3 times. Doesn't really matter. Al-Muhim, she's been married before, which means she does have a reference point. Then what? She marries another brother, and this brother is not quite matching up to what she was used to. Now what do we do?
Well, she can send her husband to us.
AbuAmerican? There's not really much you can do about this. I mean, if it's permissible, if it was a permissible relationship and she left it, then yeah, you're just kind of stuck. This is why probably a lot of men have preferences for virgins. I mean, really, then you're just gonna have to put this in your preference. If you feel like you're gonna have some sort, as a man, and I do want to get into this in a second, if there's time allowance in here for us, me to sort of go back on what Coach Kareem was talking about. If it lies outside of your preference and you think you're gonna have some sort of performance anxiety in that regard, then it's probably best to look for a woman that's gonna be a virgin. That's just the reality. But yeah, that might be there. It is a real thing, and this has been heard before also, that married sisters married another brother and then they became dissatisfied, with their new husband.
I've heard this. This is common. Yeah, this is not uncommon. This happens. This is real life. This happens.
Now, this is very sensitive. This is very sensitive because it is very hard for women. Don't you think, AbuAmerican? Very hard for women to tell her husband that I'm not satisfied. They almost will be shy.
It's really,
if you. Yeah, go ahead.
Unless she hates her husband, it's not going to be brought up because it's really a slight to his dignity as a man. And women intrinsically understand this. This is why online whenever you have a conversation with a woman and you get into a back and forth with her, the first thing she does, she attacks your sexuality. Oh, you're an incel. Oh, you got a small winky. Oh, you can never satisfy a woman. This is why they automatically go there, because they understand intrinsically this is a very heavy attack and assault on a man's masculinity. You know, his capability to either acquire physical access to a woman or his performance with a woman. And so this is why they go there. So a woman who understands, you know, and who respects and loves her husband, she's not going to mention it, you know. So yeah.
And
But
it might be like will never solve. It might be will never solved. She will never mention it to him, and he will think he's okay. So there is no need for improvement. And that's a gap. That's a gap. It needs to be filled. What do you think, Mahdi?
Wallahi, you see, my heart goes out to brothers that have been through this. Like, there's one brother I got in mind right now. I'm just trying to choose my words carefully, you know. But he actually went through that, and that was a tough experience, you know, a tough experience on him. And to be able to move on from that with your ego still intact, you know, because ego to a man is important, you know, contrary to popular belief. Our ego is important, and that ego needs massaging. But at the same time, on the flip side, you know, I have to extend an empathetic olive branch to the sister as well. If she is feeling dissatisfied to the point where it's causing frustration, to the point where she's considering maybe even haram, and this is a big problem, you know.
This is a big issue. It really is a bigger issue than a lot of people think. You know, people get on me about it. But I've been married and divorced multiple times. None of my divorces have been about sexual satisfaction. I mean, if anything, some of the women have talked about coming back just because of it. You know, so you'd be amazed at how widespread of a problem this is, and it speaks for two issues. One, a lot of sisters, they have experiences, either solo experience or experience, you know, some way or another, you know. Yeah, I'm trying to pick my words carefully now. And then, no, well, that's the two experiences. But let me say this. The question is, how far do we go to get help for this? Because there's non-Muslims out there who actually have help for this. But then how much into the haram or the halal does this go? I haven't personally checked it myself. But they do have material apparently out there that's designed to help a man with his performance. Now we come into the question of, what is the permissibility of this material? I haven't looked at it, so I can't say don't get it because it's got pictures or whatever else, or it's got this inside it. I can't say get it because I don't know what's in it. So I can't tell you either or. So the question is there a way to make halal this type of information to make sure? I don't even know. But I'm trying to think. I can't even.
No, it's like that.
Yeah, do we have a necessity for this? You know what I mean? I mean, since when has this been a necessity? It's an illness. It's a sickness of our time. Because I don't think this was a conversation 200 years ago amongst them. I don't think anybody would have had this conversation.
Really?
You know what I mean?
Think so? Yeah. Do you think it's more pronounced now, this problem?
Yeah, I think it's social media. I really do. Social media has caused this. The interconnection of communication and information and the widespread of information. Like, you know, it's happened to me with 3 different wives, to where her friends started coming at me because my wives talked about the situation between her and I intimately. And as we know, this is impermissible. So it's like, yeah, you know, now your friends are over here trying to, like, you know, come around the back door, you know, and, you know, knock on it while you're not, you know, while you're at your parents' house or something like this. So, you know, this can only happen because of, like, this communication and how easily communication has become, and people have become more relaxed and loose with their communication and what they communicate. And so I think there's an interconnectivity here in terms of this problem.
Well, Kareem, I can give general advice for brothers who got married, who's in marriage, or before marriage even. Like, there is generalities about sex that you have to know. There is basic stuff, at least, like the average, for example, period for orgasm. So, because some of them will, like he never read any article about it, and he's 1 minute guy, and he think that's okay. So you have to know, like, the averages at least. You have to know the average. Like, if you're 1 or 2 minute guy, no, you have problem, and you need help. You need to improve like this performance. And like if you read about the average size, the average, because some of them have micro dingling and he don't know. So you have to read, you have to know the basic knowledge before marriage. You have to know the basic knowledge, because how you gonna let's say judge your performance if you don't know what is the average and what is the basics. You have to know this knowledge.
Okay, where does one go to find this information? Because yesterday I had Brother Yusuf, he came onto my stream and he mentioned the book by Imam Suyuti. I don't know, it's only in Arabic, the book that he sent me. I'm trying to find it right here. But apparently Imam Suyuti has written a book on this. Here, let me show you.
I heard about it,
Yeah, it's an actual sex book, akhi, yani,
but I haven't
straight
read
up.
it or anything.
Yeah,
I think
in
it's only
Arabic.
in Arabic though. I don't
Yeah,
think
it's
it's been.
only in Arabic. It's only in Arabic. Like he talks about, like, I'll send it to you, Coach Kareem. Like 48 different positions. Like my man goes in hard. Like it's bro, like that, akhi, like. But it's only in Arabic. I'll send it to you. Like, it's crazy, akhi. I'm looking at it now. It's flipping nuts.
I was reading here and there.
Heard about it, but
It's
I
not
suppose it's never been
necessarily have to
translated.
be. Yeah, it's not necessarily have to be book, but like to know the average, there is a lot of sex ed like a website talking in generalities, like with no like nudity or something. It is articles, it's information. We'll tell you what is the average sizes, what is the average like performance to reach orgasm for male in each ages, what is how many times per week, for example, for your age range. Like you will know these things. At least you will figure out that if you have problem.
See, this gentleman here makes a good point. Where did he say? Where did he put it? He said, comparing yourself is a slippery slope. I mean, that is a slippery slope. If you start, having, for example, comparing sizes, and then perhaps you realize, oh god damn, I'm well below average. Like what could that do to your ego, your psyche? I don't know, man.
Yeah,
It's in a slippery slope.
You have to take under consideration your race, because if a Chinese guy comparing himself to Guinea guys, no, you will always be lower than average.
Congo have the biggest averages, by the way. Man, search that one. Congo.
Yeah,
Shout out to my Congo brothers.
So you have to know your race average to know if you're below average. Do not compare yourself for the international average. Yeah.
Yeah, comparing yourself is a fool's errand anyway. Just work with what you got, or it's like anything else. It's like with your skills, it's like with your car or your tools or whatever else. You do the best possible job that you can with the tools that you have. You have the particular tool, use it find out how to use it best, and then work with it. Don't compare.
You can fix
your
that,
screwdriver
AbuAmerican.
to somebody else's screwdriver. Do you?
Your friend Sterling Cooper have a book on that. You can fix the size.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I didn't want to mention him, but that's what I was talking about. He has material out there, but I've never looked at his material, so I don't know the permissibility of his material. Yeah, I know him because he at one point he was interested in Islam, and I had him on the show at that time. That time when he was close to being very interested in Islam. I don't know what his position is anymore, but yeah.
Allah Yahdi, may Allah guide him. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not even gonna cap. I've had a couple of Sterling Cooper's videos, suggested videos, short ones, 3-4 minutes, come up on my feed. I thought, let me click on it. I can't remember the titles now. Bro, I learned some stuff, man. Like, all right, fine, my guy's in the boring industry, and we don't need to go there. But I learned some stuff, not from a perspective of positions or anything. It was actually more like things to say that he's learned from his experience in the doing this type of stuff. Obviously, that's a slippery slope in and of itself, but it was interesting. Let's put it that way. AbuAmerican, I'm gonna send this question your way. Actually, Tfaddal. Is oral intimacy permissible?
I've seen a difference of opinion on it. Some of the ulama say yes, some of them say no. It's literally like, as far as I know, there's an ikhtilaf on it. I can't remember who it was. I think it was Sheikh Al-Albani. He said this is the behavior of dogs and cats, licking private parts, and then another, and whatever else.
Right, yeah.
And then some of the ulama said that this is permissible between husbands and wife. But yeah.
But nobody says it's haram totally. They say
It's
makruh. It's makruh. It's like
Yeah. Yes. Disliked, yes. I do. If it was Sheikh Al-Albani, I can't recall anymore. I do believe it was him. I think, yeah, he did say makruh. None of us have ruled it as haram, as far as I know. If someone knows a ruling where it says haram, then please show it to me. But definitely there's been disapproved, opinions on it. And then there's others that say, like, yeah, no, no problem.
Only one thing is confirmed haram with all scholars, which is the back exit. Everything
Yeah.
else is
Right,
go
right.
ahead.
Right.
Yeah.
Ali Muhammad, appreciate the 10. I don't know what that currency is, but Jazakallah khair, appreciate it, my man. Barakallahu fiqh. So, okay. How does, let's say you're a father, okay? How does one go about having this conversation with one's son, or ensuring that mum has this conversation with one's daughter? How does one even go about approaching that? Like, okay, I will send another link again by Yusuf. Shout out to Yusuf. And there's this sister, she's written this book, okay? And this book is, okay, the title of this article goes as follows: Based Grandma Writes Sex Manual for Muslim Wives. 30 years of marriage have taught her a thing or two. She's actually written a manual on it. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about that, Akhi? And this brother, I believe the brother's name is Nabil something or other. He's been recommended to bring him on. Actually, no, shout out to the brother. Inshallah, I invite you into my podcast, brother Nabil. His website is Becoming the Alpha Muslim. Anyway, apparently she's written a manual. I don't know how one goes about getting hold of it. She talks. If I tell you the list of contents, bro, it's gonna blow your mind. Like, all right, like, she's got all sorts in here. She's got sexting, kissing, dry hump. Listen, this is over 18, by the way. If you're under 18, get off the stream. Barakallahu fiqh. Lingerie. All right. How to give a hand job. How to do a striptease. How to give. Bro, I'm telling you, I'm reading it off the phone. Look at AbuAmerican.
I mean.
And one more thing, she's an anonymous author, by the way. So she's got a pen name, so we don't actually know who she is.
Kids. I think we all love our kids. I have adult children, and under no circumstances, I can talk to them about anything, quite literally. But that would be an uncomfortable conversation. I could have it if they brought it up, but I can't see a situation where I'd bring it up. It's definitely something I would write a book about and then say, hey, look, I wrote this. But that actual conversation, I just wouldn't want to have. I would if they asked me, but that's just, yeah. Can you imagine your grandma, talking to you about hand jobs or something, or I don't know what your grandma or your grandpa, or
No,
that's creepy, huh?
I'd be like, Grandpa,
I don't want
look,
that image
man,
in my head.
time for the old folks home. I said I wasn't going to put you on, but it's time to go.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know about that, but shout out to the brother Nabil. I want to bring him on, inshallah ta'ala. Let me just grab a couple of these questions here, because there were a couple of good questions, but I've lost them. Yeah. I can't find it. I've lost it now. I've lost it. Okay. Now, in terms of premature ejaculation, in terms of masturbation addictions, real life problems. All right. I've had young men, very young men, mid-teens, late teens, early 20s in my inbox asking me for advice on this. And all I've been able to do is refer them on, because I don't have much knowledge on this. What would you advise to someone who is suffering from something like, and this is a question I feel to both of you, premature ejaculation or masturbation addiction? What type of help does this person need? What type of therapy? I don't even know what you call it. What does he need to get over this problem?
Premature ejaculation can come from several factors. Believe it or not, anxiety. So if you're having performance anxiety, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy, quote unquote, that causes you to perform even worse and have premature ejaculation. Second is inexperience, which is not a problem. That's nothing to be ashamed of. If you're not out doing a bunch of haram, then, alhamdulillah. And third would be, I forgot what the third was. Oh, no. And then part of the solving of it is obviously, time in the field. When you get married, time in the field eventually goes away. But there is an exercise that men can do for premature ejaculation. And it's basically, it's squeezing the muscle of the prostate, and then holding it. And that exercise actually helps with premature ejaculation. It's the same muscle that you use at the end of urinating. And when you're trying to kill the stream, Or if you want to kill the stream right in the middle of urinating, it's the same thing. You have to flex that and then hold it and then let it go. And there's actually an entire system. There's a book written about it. There's nothing. That book I could suggest, if I remember the name of it, it's really just cut and dry on how to squeeze that muscle, and like a whole program, like sets and everything, literally like sets to follow that you can do. It's tough. I've tried it, and you literally start sweating. It's really like a workout. It's really not like, and that helps,
Wow. Coach Kareem,
and of course, anxiety. You got to get rid of your anxiety. That just comes with experience and time.
Right. Absolutely. Yes, Coach Kareem, sorry.
Yeah. Well, if you have, let's say, a masturbation problem, especially a high volume, like repetitive, it's usually came with sexual visual feed, which is like watching sexual content. So you will start, and I will never lie till you cut this off right now. No, it will never work this way. Try to tune it down, to reduce it, like for like week after week after week, and redirect your energy to something else, like fighting, lift some weights, go to swim on a regular basis, like 2 times a week, jog, do cycling. Try to redirect your energy towards something productive, let's say, and tone down, like decrease, like the watching the sexual content like week after week, and you will reach to this point. And I will let you know like one information that might help you from like cognitive point of view, which is, do you know, with each masturbation and ejaculation, your testosterone level drops around 40%?
Is that ejaculation in general, or is that just exclusive to masturbation?
No, in general.
In general.
It is in general. Yeah. Why do
Okay.
you waste like this amount of power and energy, like just to masturbate? Keep it keep it in. It will be, it can help you with a lot of things. One of them is self-confidence. Yeah.
Okay, but then could you not make that argument then why should anyone just have sex then? Because their testosterone is going to drop. Could you not make a foolish argument there?
Yeah, but like in the marriage's like situation, that's inevitable. But if you're not married, why to waste all of this when it's not necessary? That's what I mean. And I'm talking about like addiction here. Like every single day, some of them 2 time, 4 time, 3 time, every single day. You're just like drying your energy, consuming all of that energy when it's not necessary. Why?
Yeah, I mean,
can I address something here? Because the comments, some of these guys are really like just brain dead. This guy resolved a demon slayer, Mikhail. He says, do you think the Sahaba watched TV programs with naked women? If you read Sirah, then you'll understand that the Sahaba walked around areas where slave women were uncovered from their tops because they were not allowed to cover themselves. So they were walking around bare-chested. They were literally walking around with their breasts out because they were not allowed to cover themselves. This was only for the believers. This is how they identified slave women from free women. Wow. So they weren't like, obviously they weren't out committing zina or anything, but they're not like, this hyper prude that you are. What would you do in their time walking around the Sahabas, and there's women walking around with their chest out? This is why I say Muslims are passionate about a religion they're ignorant of. So anyway, coming back to what Coach Kareem was talking about with the testosterone. Here's the issue with testosterone and marriage and outside of marriage. Yes, the effect is the same in a sense with your testosterone. And why is this the case? So when you get excited physically as a man, your system is filled with testosterone. It's like increased, and then you get excited. After the excitement's over, when you've ejaculated, your body flushes your system with a peptide hormone that's called oxytocin. And so that flushes the testosterone out of your system so that you don't keep going after you've ejaculated. Because of the shape of the human member or the male member, it will literally remove the sperm from the woman, which will reduce the chance of pregnancy. Talk about the wisdom.
My man, that's such
a
good point. Yes.
Soft. And that's why your testosterone drops. Now, this is where polygyny is a great thing. There's a thing that was called the Coolidge effect. And the Coolidge effect is in mammalian species, that in which humans are supposed to be, according to Western science, that when you introduce a new female into an environment with a male, even if he's been active with the female earlier, he becomes newly excited at the prospect of a new female being entered into his environment. Therefore, your testosterone shoots up again. You're ready for action right again. You don't get this with masturbation, you know?
Yeah, so, no, I can attest to that 100%. I'm sure you can attest to it as well. It's like it's absolutely right on the nail. If it was the same woman, it wouldn't be, but different. Another woman, like a different flavor, basically. Yeah, it's like you've had dinner, you're full up, and suddenly dessert is served, and you got room for dessert. You know, that's how I've explained it in the past. You're ready to go again. No other way to explain it.
We have a joke here. We have a joke about that. Like one woman was asking her husband, like, do you know that the bull, he can have sex 400 times a year. Why can't you? And what did he respond? He says, can you ask him if he sleep with the same cow?
What a legend! What a legend! Yes, even the bull is polygynous. Allahu Akbar. MashaAllah. Yeah, no, that was an interesting point you made there, AbuAmerican, about the fact that the human member, the male member, will literally dig out the ejaculate, and that will diminish the chance of that. But I knew that, but I never made the connect between that and the fact that if he kept on going over and over, it would potentially diminish the chances of her being able to reproduce in the first instance, or her falling pregnant, at least in the first instance. It's fascinating.
Indeed, it's the wisdom of Allah, how he, how he's fashioned and developed his creation. Impressive, beyond impressive.
Absolutely, subhanallah. So, AbuAmerican, Coach Kareem, before we conclude this, what advice can we give to the young people? It's mainly young people who are watching my channel when it comes to learning about this stuff prior to marriage, but at the same time not killing themselves and stressing themselves out with comparisons and potentially stressing themselves to the point where they now have performance anxiety and all the rest of it. And what advice would you give to the youth, both of you, in that regard?
I believe, like, the majority of men, I read a study about that, the majority of young men have an anxiety about the size. Like the vast majority of them, over than 80% of them. And I will give them this, like, very useful information that, okay, that's 18 plus podcast, actually. The female G-spot is 2 to 5 inch away of the surface, so you do not need like a real big cylinder to satisfy her. Like 2 to 3 inch. Actually, that's the average. The G-spot is 2 to 3 inch inside, so you do not need actually like a huge weapon to satisfy her. Like, most probably you're okay, like 99% you're okay, so do not worry a lot about what do you see or hear about, especially in the porn industry, with like 12 inch, 20 inch. No, these things are very, very, very extreme and very rare. Very rare in the human species. So do not compare yourself with this, like, creatures. So you will be okay, most probably.
No, I'm glad you said that, actually, because typically a large member is problematic for most women. Actually, if you have a very large member, even a little bit large, it can be problematic for a woman to be able to deal with. Those women, like you mentioned, in that industry, who are able to deal with these giant tools, they're not normal women either. And we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. Maybe she has to take painkillers. I don't know what the hell's going on, but I know stuff's going on behind the scenes, in order to be able to facilitate this madness. So as the old adage goes, comparison is the death of happiness, something along those lines. Comparing yourself to these giants, and that's not normal. And it doesn't take much to be able to satisfy a woman in the first place. So don't get too hung up on this, gentleman, on comparing your members. The only time when a man could potentially start to become concerned is if he is with a woman who has had one or many either sexual partners or marriages, whichever way we're talking about it now, in the past, and she's used to a particular standard, and then you don't measure up, quite literally. If you don't measure up, then, you know, I guess you got something to worry about. Any parting concluding statements, gentlemen?
No.
Coach
Any
Kareem?
advice for young men, AbuAmerican?
Oh, the advice. I mean, the advice for men is the same as women. I mean, one of the biggest toxic issues in terms of this, like, whole anxiety is social media. From getting addicted to porn to getting addicted to masturbation to anxiety, it's mostly social media. Reduce. I say it on my channel all the time. Reduce it down to what you perform and what you give and what you absorb in terms of like learning and getting information. Other than that, try and avoid this type of stuff, because what social media has done is it's hypersexualized the world, and they've turned sex as the end all and be all, and it's really not. There's a lot more to life than that. And so what happens is they've turned something that was designed, yes, to provide pleasure to you and to help you bond with your partner into like an entire sport almost. And so now it's more entertainment than it is actually the tool that it's kind of like a tool. It is sort of like a tool than it really is to bond with your partner, and to enjoy one another in a different way, to give her intense, attention, and for you to receive and bond with her through intense pleasure. So stop focusing on social media and what they tell you it's supposed to be, especially women, and what they, how it's supposed to be in first day and whatever else. It's not their business. Don't worry about it. It's not your business to hear what their first day was about. Your first day is not going to be that person's first day, because you're two different people. You're not going to marry that person. So, yeah, I think that social media is a massive corrupting force in this, and, reduction of your exposure to it will definitely help you, because we've had decades and decades and decades and generations of people who here we are, the progeny of people who have been dead for 1,000 years. It's worked just fine before social media. Let it go, and just focus on what you need to focus on, because all this is messing up your heads, both the men and the women. That's my closing statement.
Barakallah fi. Coach Kareem, تفضل أخي.
Well, generally speaking, I will give two different advices for men and women, for like young men and young women. For young men, like you have to concentrate on yourself, bro. Do not follow, do not really concentrate and focus about females in general, especially when in the beginning of your life, because that's so destructive. It is so destructive to the degree that you will consume your energy, your concentration, intellectual capabilities with destructive thoughts, or at least not beneficial, productive thoughts. So you can use that energy and capabilities trying to achieve and improve yourself. So that's all what I want to say to young men. For young women, I see that a lot, like 20 and 25 years old, females who know really nothing about home and kids and like cooking, cleaning, anything. Like I have friends who got married to 27 years old. She doesn't know how to boil an egg. And I say, wow, she's 27 years old. Really? She was living with her mom for 27 years old. She never learned any simple thing. Like one of the cases, he was telling me, she know how to do endomy. I say, what? Anyone know how to do endomy? Like any man know, it's written in the backside, 3 minutes in hot water and it will be done. So do not tell me she know how to do endomy. So it is a big advice for young women, because all men expect this. If this is the basic that every man will expect it from you, so you have to learn it. It's very necessary.
I'm actually going to do my best to get hold of this book that this sister has written, and I'm going to read through it myself. The brother Nabil, who has been recommended to me on good authority, actually has, he's said it's a good book. So I'm going to read it myself. I'm going to let you guys know what I think, because I feel like this discussion, and is an important discussion that nobody really wants to talk about, because You know, it's embarrassing, but it is what it is. Yani we shouldn't really feel embarrassed about it. La haya fi din. This is what it is, because people are walking out on their marriages and cheating and all the rest of it. That's a lot worse than having an uncomfortable discussion, you know.
Yeah.
With that being said, Jazakallah khair to those of you in the chat. Please make sure you like the video on your way out before you leave if you have found value in this stream. And make sure you follow AbuAmerican and Coach Kareem on their respective platforms. Their links are all in the description. I will be tagging them in the titles as well. On that note, Jazakumullah khair, gentlemen. Always a pleasure. Until next time, inshallah.
Absolutely.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum